All right, now we're to the final place, the final piece of the project, which is to get an interview. And so that's a whole other ball game, right? So let's talk about that. So how do you get an interview? Well, you have to ask for one. Sometimes they'll offer it to you, but oftentimes you're gonna have to ask for it. Especially if they're not, even if they're not hiring. If they say, well, we have no openings right now, say, well, can I still interview so I can get to know you and you can get to know me? Because maybe when they get to know you, they'll discover that they'd rather have you on the team than somebody else. You know what? The owner's job is to put the best team on the road possible available to him. Does that make sense? So he doesn't know you yet. And if you've gone through my training, there's no one better. If you've taken my training seriously, you're going to be better than the other apprentices. So you want an interview, and the way to get an interview is to ask. Okay? So now you have an interview. Now what? Well, be early. Number one rule, be early. Don't be late for any reason. At my company, even when a good guy would come in, but they were late, 5 minutes even, we might as well not have the interview. I would do an interview just to be courteous because I'm a nice guy. But the rest of my managers were already done. And I learned to be done too. See, this is the best you've got. You're trying to get a job for me and you can't be on time. And I'm the owner of the company and my two managers are here and we all set aside time for you and you can't be here on time. It doesn't go well. So be early. And I have a little principle I use all the time. No variables. Be really early. Be really early, because if you don't want traffic to hold you up. So you can map out where the place is and be a little early. Or a lot early if you really want the job. Remember, if we start at the bottom and work our way up, if you're up here at the top of the best places to work, don't you dare be late. And there's no fixing that. Be clean, well-groomed, dress nice. You don't have to wear a suit and tie. You can if you want. I've had people do that, and it's cool and kind of funny a little bit. Like some of the other plumbers are like, "What's that guy doing?" Oh, he just really wants the job, you know. You probably don't have to dress up in suit and tie. You're looking for an apprenticeship in a trade. You sure can. And I'm not discouraging at all, but you do need to come to work dressed nice. I would even suggest come dressed nice, ready to go to work. So if you've got boots and work pants and a shirt, gloves, all that, I would come in a clean set of clothes, ready to go to work. That's how I would dress. Clean, well-groomed. You'd be surprised how many people show up not that way. Why do you come to a job site? Why do you come to a job interview and you look like you rolled out of bed? And it happens. And that's one thing exciting. That's one of the reasons I put this course on and teach this, because it doesn't take much to really stand out and do really well and be better than everybody else. And that's pretty cool. So be prepared. Have your resume packet ready. Resume packet. Remember what we talked about, the packet? What do you want in your resume packet? You want your resume. You want any letters of reference from anybody. You want your driving record. They're going to ask you for your driving record. You might as well have it out. You might as well have one for them. You might as well take a copy of they're going to need your driver's license and social security number. You might as well make a copy of that and have it for them. And I think that's it. Is that it? I think that's it. Any certifications you've taken? Oh, your trade traction pledge signed. Remember that? It says, I've taken this course and I promise to be early to work, be clean in the company uniform, bring my own lunch, save 10% of whatever I make. If I got nothing to do, I always ask, how can I help? Attend any training available to me. Remember that? Powerful. You bring that set in, along with any certificates of any courses you've taken, like the PHCC course that I'm involved with. They've got some pre-apprenticeship stuff. Even before you've got a job, you can take the class. It's free, and there's one that's like $59 that you can show initiative that, hey, I really want to be a licensed plumber. I want a plumbing apprenticeship, and I've already done these things on my own. The other thing is your trainee card. Every state's different. Remember that. In every trade, in every state's different. But in Washington, you have to pay a little fee and get a little trainee card that says, I can now work as a plumbing apprentice, and I can start collecting hours of experience. You have that already? Goes a long way. Guess what everybody else does? They show up. They don't have a resume, and they might fill out an application, but that's all they got. So you're going to bring your packet in, and they're going to ask you to fill out the application. Yeah, fill it out. You say, well, I already have a resume. I understand, but fill it out. You know what? The more thorough you fill that out, the better your penmanship. The more organized. Are your lines all scribbly? See, the way you handle your application is just a little hint about how you're going to be with your own paperwork. There is paperwork involved in the trades. Can I read your writing? Is it straight? Do you take the time to fill things out? Eventually in the trade, you're going to have to write up invoices and write what parts you used and how much time you took and what work you did and what did you suggest that they do. That's coming. And if you can't even fill out an application for a job, if you're just going to be sloppy with that and not fill out the different things that the application asks, it helps me understand what kind of person you are. And at my company, I'm only looking for the best. So you might have a good resume packet, but if your application's sloppy, it's going to count against you. It just is. So fill that application out. Part of being prepared also, be ready to work. Yeah, I would come with a lunch. If I really were working our way up, right? When I get to the jobs that I really want, this is the company I really want to work at, I would come in my work clothes, clean, ready to go, packet, boots, and I would bring my lunchbox, my igloo, my lunch, my brown paper bag, whatever it is. Because if they ask, what's that? You say, I brought my own lunch in case you want to bring me on. In case you needed me today, I'm ready to go. I have hired people the day they came in for an interview. That's happened. Where I was interviewing a kid, I really liked him, and one of my plumbers came in and said, boss, I got a problem. I got a big job. We got to start right now, and there's no help. I looked at the guy and I go, you want to start now? And he said, yes. And I sent him out. So that does happen, that can happen, and that will happen. So if you're interested, bring your lunch, be ready to go, be prepared to go to work right from the interview. So you'll get bosses like that who are like, let's go, let's get to work. I like you, you like me, I like you, let's go. Other people will take longer, that's okay. But when they're comparing notes, when they've interviewed 3 or 4 people, the fact that you came ready to go and had your own packed lunch will be something they talk about when they're considering who to hire. So that works. Let's say if you don't get the job on the spot, if they don't hire you, what are we going to do about that? Well, you can ask, how should you follow up? You can say, well, I really want to work here. I've interviewed 20 other companies, and this is the place I want to work. So how do I get a job here? And they'll say, follow up. And maybe you say, should I call next Friday? Should I give you a week? Do that. Here's the thing about follow up. True story. I interviewed a kid on Friday. I didn't need anybody. Over the weekend, one of the apprentices went snowboarding and blew out his shoulder. Monday, I need somebody. I need an apprentice. Friday, I was full up and didn't need anybody. Monday, I needed someone. So if you take your application, if you interview on Friday and then never follow up, you may not know that. But if you follow up, you might discover, guess what happened? Guess what happened? That happened to me when I was trying to get a job. I interviewed a number of places. Nobody had any openings. So guess what I did? I started over. I went back to the beginning, and except this time I knew where I wanted to be. So I went to where I wanted to be, and I called them again. And they go, "Why are you calling?" I go, "Because I've interviewed everywhere else, and you're where I want to work, and I thought I'd call again." And they go, "Well, it's just crazy, but just last night we decided to make some changes, and you're it." What if I hadn't called back? Maybe somebody else would have called back, and somebody else would have got the job. So, follow up. Follow up is where most things happen. You're going to learn this throughout all life. It's follow up. Things don't just happen the first time you try. That's just not how life works. Things can change. So just because they said no today doesn't mean it's a no forever. You can also ask, I really want to work for you. I appreciate you don't have any positions. Do you know someone that does, so I can get some experience? I had a kid that is still with my company today that I didn't have a place for him. Good guy, but I didn't have a place for him. So I think he asked me, I can't remember exactly for sure, but he may have asked me or he may have not. But what he did was he went to work somewhere else at another company. And then a year later, he's dropped back in at my place and said, "Remember me? Well, I went to work over here, but I'm wondering if you've got a position available. I've been working for a year and I've got a year of experience." And I hired him. He was even more appealing now than he was then. And he's still with my company today. He's a manager now. And it's because he followed up a year later. And the way that happened was he went and got work somewhere else. So one way to do that is just go look for work, or you could ask, "Hey, if I can't work for you, where should I go?" And for me, if I like somebody, I want to put them in a good position, because guess what? When I was running our company in my market, I was the best place to work. So I knew that if I sent you somewhere else, there's a chance I get you back. There's a chance you're not going to like it. You're going to see how I do things so well. You're going to see my deal, and then you're going to go somewhere else, and you're going to realize this isn't as good as what Dennis had. And when you get a chance, you're going to come back. So I would try to find you a good place to work. Or if I knew that you liked if you were kind of angling a certain way, I'd even recommend, well, if you want this way, I would get this kind of experience. So maybe you will look at these 2 or 3 companies to get that kind of experience. And a few people actually called and says, "Hey, I've got a good guy. I don't have room for him, but I think you should talk to him. He's a good guy." And I would actually get them a job somewhere else. Why? Because I want them to get experience, because I'm building my bench. I know them. Or here's the next thing. If you have for me, this is I knew it was a great place to work. And so I wanted, now if you go work somewhere else, I want you to be able to say how cool my place is, what you've seen so far, so that when you're working somewhere else, if someone's upset and wants to change, you might say, "You should go talk to Dennis. I interviewed there last year. That was a good looking place. They had a good program." Right? So that's it. So ask for a reference. If you won't hire me, where should I work? And usually people will have, so they won't just send you out in the cold, typically. Then follow up. Maybe that doesn't happen, or maybe you've got time to wait. Maybe they say, "I'm not quite ready yet," or "Give me a couple weeks." Later in my career, I got really careful who I hired, because it was my promise to put the best apprentices possible on the road with my technicians. And so I wouldn't just hire one guy. I would interview several people. And I interviewed this guy. I really liked him, but I was trying to interview 3 people. And I just got really, really busy. And I just didn't get, I was calling for, what I was doing was calling for references is what I was doing. I wanted to call all of his references, and I kept not getting it done. I'd call and they wouldn't get back to me or whatever. I wasn't able to get those 3 references done. This kid kept calling me Friday afternoon. And I'd say, hey, I like you. I'd like to bring you on. I still need to talk to your references, and give me another week. And that happened like 3 or 4 weeks. And he called every Friday. And so you know what I did? I hired him. I said, you know what? I like that kind of persistence. And so I didn't call the other references. I didn't get through to everybody. Because that's what you'll find as part of this follow-up process. You'll find it's sometimes hard to get a hold of plumbing companies. So even for other owners. And so his persistence and follow-up was good. And it got him his job. The next thing is follow up in different ways. You can call, email, text. You probably have a preferred method of communication. Is it text? Is it Instagram, messaging? What is it, right? Is it email? Is it phone? Everybody's different. And as you deal with different generations, older people do things differently. And so people might respond. It's just true. People respond differently to different ways of communication. So if you really want to work somewhere, then I would email. I would email and say thank you for the interview. You could even send a card. I had someone send a card. Thank you for the interview. He did work for me. I did hire him. You can email, you can text, you can make a phone call. And you don't want to do it every day, but every week, check in and follow up. Because things change, things happen, and your persistence and your dedication to follow up and dedication to them, to the company that you're following up with, will make them want you more. So that's just how life works. You could offer to work for free. You could say, hey, I got nothing to do till I get a job. Could I ride around in one of your trucks for a day and just volunteer my time to see what it's like? You could do that. You know, I used to do that back in the day, and I would send guys out on a ride along. I would actually pay them to do it. And what was interesting is the plumber would come back and he would say thumbs up or thumbs down. So you might get your way in and say, I'll work for free for a day. And you might really get along with the plumber and have a good time, and you might be really helpful and fun to be with. The day might go by like that. And that plumber might come in and say, you should hire this guy. That's how it works. The other thing you can do is say, hey, if you need somebody, I understand you don't have a full-time position, but I really want to work here. And I'm not working right now. So if you do need a hand one day, would you please call me? And I'll come in. And you can call me at 7 o'clock and I'll be here at 8. And that happens. What happens in the trades is all of a sudden we get too much work and not enough work. There's kind of it's hardly ever perfect. And there'll be a day where they need help. And so if I had someone that said, hey, call me anytime, I'll pick up the phone and say, hey, can you come in? And I'd take care of you. But if you do that 2 or 3 times, the guy's going to say, hey, what's going on with that kid? Seems like a nice kid. What's going on? And my crew will start putting pressure on me to hire you if you do that. So that's another thing to do. And then ultimately if you do all this stuff I'm talking about, you're going to get the job. And then what do you do when you get the job? Show up early. Wear the company uniform. Be clean and well groomed. Say, how can I help? Always be cleaning. Keep everything clean. The best thing you can do is clean. Save 10% of your paycheck. Pack your own lunch. And go to any training they offer you. And it will not be long before, just like cream rises to the top, you'll rise to the top. Races will come faster than ever, and the trades will become the blessings to you that they've been to me. Good luck.